But going back to retail, retail is one of the hardest games out there in any segment. And you've been, one of the few CEOs I've had on the show that has been successful at scale. I think I had the former president of Starbucks on, and he talked about, growing the brand across Asia and, what kind of things he had to adapt to different cultures and so forth. 7-Eleven, I didn't even realize how many stores and footprint you guys had. You took it across 19 countries. Very impressive. I'm guessing that the psychology of the customer in some of those non-North American countries may not be the same as Middle America. So how important was understanding your local demographic, and how did you, execute on that?
So Jerome, I call it, I've adopted a phrase I call cultural literacy. And it's interesting because in today's world, as you know, there's a lot of angst around diversity and DEI and all this kind of stuff, right? And it's kind of comical because from my perspective, because I've used cultural literacy very successful on a global basis, because the reality is technology is never going to go away, right? So the world is going to continue to shrink. And the more we as humans can understand each other, the more effective we can be on a global basis. And I think that's a screaming opportunity for everybody. So the idea with cultural literacy is that while we're all humans, we're all very different in our likes, our dislikes, our thoughts, our behaviors, our cultures. So the more we can understand that and respect it and learn from it, and that's the key word, learning from each other, then the more successful we can be on a very localized basis, because retail is a very local thing. So if you translate that back into just the United States, there can be two stores in two different parts of town that have entirely different product assortment because the demographic is entirely different and the needs are entirely different. But with technology, you can modify the product assortment instead of having one size fits all to satisfy one part of town that may want churros and another part of town that would rather have scones. But if you put scones in all the stores, they're gonna never sell in one store and be out of stock in the other.
I love that, and hence the importance of your earlier point, which is data. Knowing what people are buying in different markets.